What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Well, in today's video, we are going over 4 cryptocurrencies that I think have some huge potential going into the next few weeks and the next few months. So in today's video, we're going to break it down first by talking about the conditions in which we need to see the market continue on in order for me to be confident making some pretty large purchases on some of our altcoins. Secondly, we're going to talk about the specific altcoins and which ones that I think have the potential. And third, what I need to see, the confirmations that I need to see from those alts in order for me to say, okay, this is a fantastic time to buy, whether it goes up or whether it goes down. And then lastly, at the very end, I do have a crypto that is still extremely new, extremely small, extremely high risk with extremely high reward that I think fits on the channel very well with some of my ideas and the way I think about cryptos. So do stay tuned, of course, to the end, in which we will be talking a little bit about a bonus crypto. So of course, I think that will excite you all. But with that being said, let's start off as promised with the conditions in the market in which I need to see happen, right? So looking at cryptocurrency in general, one thing that I want to see and that I need to see realistically is that Bitcoin is capable of working its way back above $45,000. Now, the reason that I say that is because at this point, what we are in is called an ascending triangle, in which if I just go ahead and get rid of this and I just go ahead and extend these out, you can see why it's called that. Now, it's very long, of course, because of just the overall slope of these two lines, but you can see what I'm talking about, right? This is what's called an ascending triangle. Now, historically speaking, we will see that there are times in which these ascending triangles will break to the downside, and then we start to come retracing these lows back here. And so considering the fact that that is a risk and that is a threat, what I need to see from Bitcoin is that we get the break of, above this trend line. If we're capable of doing so right now, it looks like it's getting back above like $45,000 on a few daily closes would give me that confirmation. And in the event in which we're capable of doing that, that gives us a much more clear picture that we could be looking at, what's looked at as higher highs, higher lows, and that could be the very strong confirmation that we are now confirmed in an uptrend likely going to retrace the $50,000 to $52,000 area. So in the event in which we do see that happen, we see the market conditions allow it, because do understand, altcoins are moving off of the market, and the market is moving right now realistically off of environmental factors such as the Russia-Ukraine news and things of that nature, inflation, etc. So we need to be looking for these confirmations of these breaks to the upside, okay? Now, in the event, again, in which we do see this happen, let's talk about the 3 cryptos that I think have the strongest potential. And again, we do have that bonus crypto at the end. So the first one that I would be looking to buy would be Ethereum. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, well, Tyler, Ethereum's boring. It can realistically only 3 or 4x from here, and it's at 12,000, and that's huge. It's $1 trillion market cap. It's going to be too big. And I do understand that. But one thing that we have seen historically is that when we enter into new bullish macro cycles, what happens is that it usually Bitcoin that runs, then it consolidates, then Ethereum starts to really pump, and then it consolidates. And then some of our smaller alts, the more risk-on altcoins, do start to see that growth. And so for that reason, since I am under the belief that Bitcoin clearing $45,000 puts it into the position to start to see stronger growth, I think that Ethereum would follow soon thereafter. And so, of course, for that reason, I would want to take advantage of that by starting to early plan exactly when I'm going to be buying. So my current game plan for Ethereum is looking for it to set the higher high. Now, usually whenever we are in these downtrends, what we will typically see is a few confirmations and a few steps that say we're out of the downtrend clearly, and we are looking for a more macro bullish reversal. Now, what we are looking for at this point is the second step. Now, realistically, we could consider it the third step, right? So first step is always getting above the trend line, right? This is the always number one main priority. We need to get above the trend line, and we need to hold above the trend line. So realistically, if Ethereum comes back down and loses this trend line right now, this is irrelevant. We need to then get back above the trend line, okay? But now that we are outside of it and we are looking to hold on to it seemingly well right now, even if we do consolidate or start to kind of pull back a little bit on top of it, we are doing quite well at holding it at this point, okay? So in the event in which it does that, that's step number 1. Step number 2 is the establishment of an uptrend. And that can be broken down into 2 parts, a higher high and a higher low. Which one comes first? It kind of just depends on the setup. But at this point, what we can see is that on a macro-based perspective, we do have the higher low established here. Now, not only do we have the higher low established here, if we do look at the weekly charts, for example, we do have a drive of bullish divergence off of that higher low. And what that looks like is we did come back right here and we established this macro weekly low to this macro weekly low. And as we did this, and as we started to set this higher low here, it confirmed this drive of bullish divergence, in which again, we are seeing the higher low on the price, the lower low on the RSI. So that is a very good sign. That usually does lead to some growth, but of course we just need to see that play out. Now, looking at the daily charts, the next and final step is the establishment of a new higher high and the clearing of the most recent macro rejectional high. And the most recent macro rejectional high looks like $3,212 for Ethereum. Because if we are unable to clear it, of course, we do have the threat of this being something similar to what we saw in Bitcoin, which looks like it being this good old, more of a symmetrical / rising triangle here, in which we do still have the threat of breaking out to the downside. We don't want to see that happen. And so for that reason, we do need to get back above this high here in order for it to be fully confirmed that we are out of the threat of that. And it is much more likely that we are working our way to the top side. So in the event in which Ethereum does put in the higher high above $3,212, I will be doing another accumulationary event in which I do purchase some Ethereum. Now, I will let you guys know, my most recent purchase on Ethereum was actually at $2,416. As you all can see, I let my Patreon members know on February 23rd that I just added about 5% to my Ethereum position at 2,416. And so, of course, that was going to be back here whenever we did see this this little wick, this little move happen right here, in which we did, we were able to pick up quite a nice gain, about 21% of a gain in about 10 days or so. So, I mean, that was definitely a good little play there, and I'm very happy with that. Okay, I'm definitely happy with that. We did take a little bit of profits off of that short-term gain there. Okay, now looking at this thing again from a more macro-based perspective, again, I do think that there is a lot of potential here, and the last thing that I do like to see is that momentum is clearly shifting in the favor of the bulls, slowly but surely. And so, if we can get these breaks to the top side here, I think that will correlate with some type of bullish cross on the weekly MACD, which historically does lead us to see some pretty significant gains, similar to what we saw there. Okay, now the next crypto in which I am going to be looking at is actually going to be Polkadot. Now, Polkadot has been establishing a very strong level of support on a macro trend line that I think, if it does hold, does give Polkadot the potential to see gains as high as 250%. I definitely think it's possible if we do continue the momentum in which we have been seeing. Of course, what we have been seeing from Polkadot over the last year or so is that parachains did go live. They have been building their total value lock. They have been building just their overall, kind of ecosystem, and they are just growing the fundamental value of their project itself or company. And so for that reason, I think that they're fundamentally much stronger now than they were, say, back here. And I do believe that fundamentally, again, there is the support for there to be some type of growth to the top side here. Now, looking at it from more of a technical based perspective, we can see that now as we have come back towards the bottom side of the support, we have actually that establishment of support has allowed us to bounce out from below the trend line. As you can see, we are trying our best right now to hold this trend line, and in the event in which we do hold outside these levels, do be on the lookout for us to clear $20.21 as the most recent macro rejectional high. In the event in which we do that, we have then started to establish the higher high, and at that point, I think that it is going to be very likely that we do hold at minimum this previous level of macro support right here, and that will allow us to start to see some growth. What you can see is that on the daily RSI, we have crossed back into bullish territory coming off of this bullish divergence in which we did see. Let's get this pulled up, in which we did put in, here we go, a low, a lower low, a low, a higher low. Okay, that is a key sign that momentum is shifting in the favor of the bulls. The bears are starting to have a little bit less success, and although it is very likely that if we break out, we may see a bit of consolidation or a pullback in order to completely allow these to reset again. If we see something like that, I am under the belief that DOT will begin its new journey back towards the top side of this the top side of this resistance if the market does allow, which could look like some pretty substantial gains here for DOT again. Now, looking at this thing from a more zoomed out perspective, we can see this extreme case of bullish divergence as well, in which we are putting in the low, the higher low, the low, the lower low. And what that says is that although the bears are having success in pushing the price down and kind of pushing the momentum towards the side of the bears, in favor of the bears, they are not having that same success on the price itself, because as this RSI has come down to some of these lower levels, our price has not yet, which means that the bears may be seeing a bit of a weakness. They may be seeing increase in weakness there. Okay, so that's always a good sign for the long-term potential here. Now, the very last one that we will be looking at again is going to be the good old Solana. Now, Solana is one that I cover quite substantially on my channel. I actually released a video about 4 days ago talking about why I thought Solana could bounce. And since that video, this thing is up, pretty solid. I think when I released it, it was on this red day. So we're up about 20%, but I think that there is even more gains possibly on the way. Now, the reason being, of course, is because we are seeing a similar setup to the rest of our cryptos. We can see here that we did see the break of this descending triangle, similar to what we have seen in the, pretty historically for Solana. We see this quite quite often. These patterns forming off of these huge drives to the upside. And so as we do continue back up towards $118, I think that that's going to be the establishment of the level, which tells us that this is probably going to be the bullish reversal in which we are looking for. If Solana is capable of breaking 118 and clearing that rejective high, I am under the belief that we will probably see a bit of a pullback at some given point, because it is going to take a lot of strength from the bulls to get here. But even as we do cool down, I think it becomes much more likely that we do consolidate or just micro retrace before seeing a stronger continuation to the upside. And so for Solana, that is the point in which I am looking to be purchasing, especially because we can see certain drives of divergences on all time frames, right? You can see here, we set this lower low there. As you can see here, we set the higher low here. If we look at the weekly RSI, we did have this is probably the strongest case of divergence that I've seen today, in which we do have this low, the higher low, the lower low. That's similar to Polkadot in the sense that it's a sign that the bears are struggling to push the price itself down, although they are having success in changing the momentum. And so for that reason, there could be, definitely a weakness coming up pretty soon here, as we are starting to see some convergence on something like the MACD pointing in the direction of the bulls, as we do print these light pink bars here. So overall, this is another one that I think once we get back above 118, I definitely would say that that's going to be my buying point. That's when I will do a little bit of accumulating, as I think there is a lot more potential for gains, back up towards as high as maybe even $350 plus, right? If we get another drive similar in momentum to what we saw here, I can definitely see this thing putting in a $350 mark or something of that nature in the right market conditions, of course, with Bitcoin seeing 50K or something of that nature, right? So those are the three main cryptos in which I am looking to be buying, and the points in which I am buying them, and the conditions in which I am looking for in order to purchase them. Now, the very last crypto that we are actually going to talk about today, as promised, I told you guys I'd give you a small crypto that I thought had potential. I know I haven't been doing gem finders or anything like that, as I don't talk about small cryptos during shaky times in the market, but things are looking a little bit better, so I did want to talk about this one, as I think they actually have a lot of potential. It's going to be a quick little update on them, as I do want to put out more, kind of fulfilling content for them in the future here. So this one's going to be CDK token. This is going to be a French-based crypto that actually does have ties to the government, which is very interesting in the sense of the capabilities and, of course, the potential of what they can do. Now, this one is actually still in the private sale. There are 29 days before that ends, so you have a lot of time to check it out, a lot of time to do your due diligence. But overall, the base concept here is that you will have the ability to centralize and tokenize all of your vehicle and vehicle documents. So by tokenizing one's vehicle, it will be possible to buy or sell it in the form of an NFT, store all kinds of information on a blockchain, use it for big data, statistical calculations, and behavioral optimization linked to mobility thanks to artificial intelligence algorithms. Now, this is something I have talked about on the channel before in regards to Elon Musk. I said that I feel like one day a company is going to come out that does focus their attention on vehicles, and say someone like Elon Musk, who does have interest in the crypto space. I definitely think there is a use for the tokenization of vehicles and vehicular data. I think whenever you even think of things like oil changes, whenever you start to think of things like tire rotations or what tires have, been put on this car, I think storing all of that information on the blockchain to be readily available to, say, any oil change place that you go to, so they can say, okay, when's the last time you had an oil change? What type of oil do you need? Things like that. So it's much more of a centralized, and you can really kind of just see all of the information in which you need to, no matter where you are. I think that's only going to be beneficial to the overall improvement of vehicular documentation and information in general. And I'm excited to see that there are companies coming around kind of with this idea, especially ones that are built on Algorand. Again, that is something I did forget to mention, but I think that does provide them with a little bit more scalability, and there is the potential for them to see much more of a large scale adoption for this thing. And although I'm not saying that Elon Musk said he was working with them, I think ideas of this nature are becoming and going to become much more popular, and I am excited to have found a crypto that is still very new that does kind of dabble within this realm. Now, of course, you guys do know they are fully doxxed. That is something that's mandatory for me. They are fully doxxed. They have a very strong team with, again, ties to the government, the French government there, and many partners. I think this is one that definitely should be looked into. Do understand the newer these cryptos are, the younger they are, the more risky they are. But I think that if you are capable of checking some of these out and getting in on the right ones early enough, there are massive gains that can be made here. And that is a game that I do like to play every now and then. And I wanted to go ahead and show you guys that while the market does seem seem to be doing a lot better than the last couple weeks. So with that being said, that is realistically gonna be about it for today's video. Of course, I hope you guys did enjoy. Do pay close attention to Bitcoin, because this is going to open up many doors for the purchases in which we did talk about today. And do stay tuned on the channel as I update you as soon as possible. Now, do understand that all of the purchases I do happen over on iTrust Capital. If you want information about iTrust Capital and how you cannot pay taxes on the trades in which you do make, definitely do go to the link down in the description below. It can save you a shit ton of money. It's definitely worth checking out. But with that being said, of course, I will see you all next time. Peace.